This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton Property Committee meeting at 6 p.m. on the 13th of January. We're here in room 1 at 50 Payson and remotely on Google Meets. We have all members of the committee here, myself and Councilors Kwasinski and Peak. And Councilor Peak was kind enough to send us some minutes, which I'll pull up here. I've reviewed them. Have the other members had time to review these minutes?
Yeah. I would like to make one very small correction, which I'll send in an email now.
Okay.
But Don is here, and I'm realizing that in the April minutes, I misspelled his name.
Oh.
So I will send that corrected, but otherwise, I think they're pretty solid.
Okay.
He was here in the April meeting as well.
Okay. Before we take a motion to approve minutes, Councilor Kwasinski, do you have any input on them at all, or ready to move forward? Well, yes, and so it appears that the April 4th minutes you were not present for.
The April 4th minutes, that's correct.
Okay, so I will take a separate motion for those, and then it appears that January 22nd, February 23rd, and May 9th we were all present for as per the minutes. So I was going to take a separate motion for April 4th to approve those minutes. And I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. That's the meeting you weren't here for.
You're isolated that, okay. So
Yeah, that's the one you were not here for. Are you abstaining from that?
I shall abstain.
Okay, well, we have those, but we have approved those minutes by a vote of 2-0 with 1 abstention due to absence. And then January 22nd, February 23rd, and May 9th, 2024, we were all present for, and so I will happily take.
To approve those minutes.
We have a motion from Councilor Kwasinski. Is there? Okay, I was in hot anticipation to see if that would happen. So the motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Minutes approved. Great, wonderful. Moving on. Public speak time. If there's anyone here from the public who wants to speak on a matter not related to business on the agenda, I know I see one member of the public and another member of city government here. We do not have a quorum, by the way. And so if you are here to speak about the utility pole on Everett Street, then that moment would be the appropriate time to speak. Is there anyone here for the public who wants to speak on any other matter pertaining either to the work of this committee or anything else in the city? Seeing none. New business, utility pole location on Everett Street. So we have a proposal, let me pull that up, to replace essentially, or to place one jointly owned stub pole on the north side of Everett Street that would act as a guide, but also support communications, etc. Just to familiarize people with it, and I can turn it over to our representative from Eversource after taking any initial feedback from members of the committee. And then actually taking public input as well before we get to the Eversource rep or the Verizon rep. So currently the pole across the street from the proposed pole is a portion of a tree with the limbs cut off, and it's acting essentially as a pole guy. And the proposal is to remove the tree that is not a substantial option for that kind of infrastructure and probably rotting, and to replace it with an actual pole to both support it and to provide distribution of intelligence communications, transmission of high and low voltage electric current. So any initial comments from the committee members? No?
Regarding the need for the pole?
Well, yeah, or just in general before we, yeah.
I did have a question, but
Is it for the Verizon? Is it Verizon? All right, if you could hold that, I'll take public comment first, and then we'll turn it over to him, and then we'll open it up for public comment, for questions from the members of the committee. We do have Mr. Brown here, who is affiliated with the property, correct? Associated with this request. And so if there's any comments you want to make at this time.
Just a bit of background. It had been determined originally that the tree in question and several others on that street were in fact responsibility of the church / cemetery. They were not city trees. They were, and I have confirmation in an email from Greg Nuttleman telling us that the trees in fact belong to the cemetery. Every one of the trees was diseased, limbs were falling down. We deemed them to be a potential hazard and liability. In fact, one large limb fell last summer. Thankfully, it fell into the cemetery, not into the street. So we've been removing them systematically, and then, oops, this one's got a guy wire attached to it. But again, for safety reasons, the tree company removed the top of the tree so there's no more falling branches and what have you. And now that it's been clarified that the tree is on the property of the church, I think Verizon was actually also looking for that confirmation before they would go ahead and put a pole in. And the pole is the best solution, I think, in replacement of a dying tree.
So I also think in the capacity of Mr. Brown's representation of the property, I think as opposed to typical public speak where we can't respond, I think it's reasonable that committee members can ask him any questions. So if either of the committee members have a question for Mr. Brown as to what his statement or anything else, I would open it up to it now if you do.
Seems fairly straightforward.
I agree.
Rotting trees are probably not ideal for supporting infrastructure, so I don't know that there's much to.
Councilor Kwasinski, anything for Mr. Brown?
Nothing.
Okay.
No.
So we have Mr. I apologize because you've been on here a couple times. Is it Vonner or Voner?
It's Bonner.
Okay, great. So we have Mr. Vonner here representing the telecommunication company. And if you want to provide some background and more professional explanation for us, and then if the committee members have questions, I'll turn it over to them.
Well, I appreciate you considering me as a professional. I wish I could be there in person. I'm sorry I can't be. I just found out about this on Thursday. But Mr. Brown summed it up very well. Rotting trees are not good to have your guy wires on. This goes back to the time of all our grandparents and great-grandparents when they just put it up to a tree and they said, oh, that's solid, that'll stay there for many decades. And now it's catching up to us. This is happening all across, well, the country, really. And when they happen and when we notice them, we got to take care of them as quickly as we can. And we have to keep the pole line viable and strong. So that's why we're putting the pole within, along the street near where the tree will be removed, so that the pole line that goes up and down Franklin Street will be, and the pole right there at the corner of Franklin and Everett will stay strong. So, you know, I could go on, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
And the proposal also notes transmission of signals, et cetera, and so forth, which I know is somewhat boilerplate language. As it stands right now, obviously there's nothing, there's no cables or anything hooked up to the tree other than acting as a guy. Would that, if it's replaced by a stub pole, is there any proposal for that to actually have telecommunication infrastructure on it? Or
no,
is that
stub poles are just that. They're meant to be support, and that's all that this one is being requested for, is just to have a guy wire going across and supporting that pole line.
other questions from the committee members? Councilor Kwasinski?
Yes, Mr. Bonner, thank you for being here. The question I had was with regard to the pole on Franklin, the corner of Franklin and Everett. It's a tall pole, and then there's a smaller pole at the same location. Both the other pole I'm describing isn't on the map. But I was wondering if that other pole was going to be removed. And it looked like Verizon's equipment was currently attached to the smaller pole.
So are you telling me, I apologize, normally I go out to the site beforehand and I wasn't able to do so tonight. You're telling me there's a double pole at the site?
Well, they're side-by-side poles, maybe half a foot apart from one another.
Yeah, so one newer one replaced an older one and they're
One
getting a
new
line
pole
transfer.
one and an older one, but the equipment is attached to both. Looks like the electric is on the taller pole and the Verizon equipment is attached to the smaller pole. I just was wondering, curious, what you were gonna do, whether you're gonna remove that in the process of all of this work.
Sure, yeah. As a result of this work, no, I don't believe, because this work is essentially just to put the new pole in across the street and then run a guy wire over to support the newer of the two poles that you see there.
Right.
Sometime, I don't know when it happened, but that pole was replaced at the corner, and it sounds like what you're describing to me is a double pole situation. What typically happens in those situations is when you put the new pole in, everybody that has their lines on them has to transfer them over from the top to the bottom. And then once the last one transfers over, that last one, which is typically Verizon, they would take the pole with them. So what I'm assuming that there's more than one line above ours, because otherwise it would be in line to get that pole removed.
I'm not sure that there is one other line. Maybe you could at some point be kind enough to consider taking a look at it, just to drive by and say, oh, geez, there isn't another line. Maybe we should get that in order, get rid of it. Because currently you have a street corner with two poles on it, and it doesn't appear to need both poles. And I'm thinking of sightline visibility, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, I will make that part of my report, so that the pole T15 and a half, it looks like, T15 is a double pole, and from what I'm hearing, Verizon may be the last ones at the bottom, and if that's the case, I'll make a note that they can take it if they're in the area. But I don't know that that's the case. But I will certainly make it part of my report.
That's my question.
Great for your due diligence there. Do you have any questions, Councilor Peak?
I don't.
My only question, just to clarify, and also for the sake of the public, the removal of the tree will be performed by the utility company, or is that the responsibility of the property owner? Or is the tree not going in?
It's a responsibility of the property owner,
Okay, all right.
unless Don wants to pay for it.
No, I think what's going to happen is we'll put the pole in and then we'll attach the wire. We'll unattach the wire to the tree, and then the tree company can go ahead and take it out.
Yes. Yeah, I think, like I said, in the capacity of your relationship to things. Yeah.
Don, Tom Brown again, from Our Lady of Valley Parish. I believe a Verizon representative was out there initially and met with our head of facilities. And they were just making sure that the pole was going to set back far enough from the sidewalk, maybe a foot at most, because the longer term plan is to have a fence run along that sidewalk, ornamental type fence. And obviously we didn't want the fence to run right into a pole. So I don't know if when it's going to be installed, if we could be notified somehow and our facilities guy could be out there just to confirm that it's going to be set back maybe a foot from the sidewalk at most.
Can you tell me if there's a stake in place right now?
I'm not sure about a stake, but they've definitely put a lot of paint on the grass.
Okay. And does that, again, I wish I could have seen it.
Might be a little bit of snow on it right now, but
Yeah.
I can double check tomorrow if there's a stake there, but
I didn't see a stake, if I may.
And it, okay, I'll make mention of that as well. And I'll tell them that, do you have a phone number that I could have them call or I can attach to my report?
Yes. His name is Kevin Malloy. I know your folks have met with him before,
Okay.
and his number is 413-330-5559. And he works from about 4 a.m. till noon.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
We're slave drivers.
God bless them.
This
Okay.
is a record, Mr. Brown.
Sorry, no pun intended. He said, God bless him. No, he chooses to work those hours.
Okay. I'll make mention of that. I'll make mention that he would like a call. Ideally, if a stake could be put in place before anybody gets out there where you would like the pole to go, as long as it's well enough off the road that it's not going to interfere with traffic and foot traffic, I think we're good. And as long as it can stay out of the way of your fence where everybody's happy, that's what we're looking for.
We can definitely get a stake in the ground.
Okay.
And just in terms of timelines too, the proposed public hearing for this is January 22nd. So you have, a little over a week, I'm sure, to do that. And then I don't know how quickly they act once it's approved, but if you're able to instruct your,
We can definitely get it done tomorrow, probably.
okay. I don't think I have further questions. Do either of the counselors have any further questions?
Not
Do you need me in attendance at that 22nd meeting?
It's always helpful. This is pretty straightforward, but as identified tonight, there's always little wrinkles that come up, such
Sure.
as some, cooperation or reasonable requests from the property owner, as well as, exceptional observation by a counselor of another pole that's there. So you never know. So if you're able to attend remotely, that would be helpful, and I can send out the link to that meeting as soon as we have it.
That'd be great. Thank you, Owen. You should have my contact information already, but if you don't, I'll reach out.
Okay, great. Yeah, I won't have that information till Thursday of this week, but as soon as I have it, I'll send it to you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions from the committee members? Okay, thanks for bringing that. I was looking out the other side of the street, so thank you. I'm happy to take a motion to approve this. If you want me to read the language. Sure.
I move to approve the guy wire pole location as described.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion from Councilor Krasinski, a second from Councilor Peak. Any other further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Approved to recommend to the council 3-0. Any further discussion from the committee members? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion from Councilor Peak, second from Councilor Krasinski. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Don, I'll send you information as soon as I have it.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.